Welcome, everybody. This is Peter O'Rulian. I am the founder, composer, lyricist, and sometimes vocalist for Symphony North. Just sometimes, because we have so many great voices in the group. I want to wish you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and to share some news with you. But it's kind of important first, I think, to share some context. So I'd like to take just a moment to do that for the news that I want to share. First, it all kind of begins with my own childhood. I have, since I was a kid, had three abiding passions. The first is music, next is storytelling, and Christmas, of course. As a kid, I was always making up songs and singing them to anybody who'd listen. It's important to me to sort of make my own melodies and to tell my own stories with those, which leads to the second thing. I have told stories since I was a kid. Again, making them up as I go, just sort of impromptu oral storytelling, because it was so important to me to have these mythos that I would create of my own. And then last Christmas, as any kid, I loved presents and the trappings and the tinsel, the jingle bells. But as I grew older, came to have a deeper appreciation for the reverential aspect of the season and what Christmas means. And so it all matters to me, sort of profoundly and from the beginning. So I knew that there would come a time I would work to try and conflate these things, to bring them together in some combination. And I woke up one day when I was in high school with a very clear vision of how I would do that, and began to do some sort of fledgling work in service of that idea. But soon kind of abandoned it, mostly because I started college. I had relationships going. I started a career and sort of got pulled off that path for a while. The good news is that much of what happened in those intervening years worked also in service of this vision. So I wanted to tell a little bit about that. With my storytelling, I studied the craft of writing and storytelling for decades. And I'd go to conferences. I would go to sit on panels. I would participate in seminars. And along the way, I began to publish through traditional big New York publishers my own novels. In fact, it's interesting, almost all of that work and the dozens and dozens of short stories on top of the novels, they usually feature music in some way, just sort of organically. Sometimes it's a character who is a musician. Sometimes it's the world that I have created. Sometimes it's a music magic system, which was pretty interesting and challenging to write. Along the way, I even collaborated with John Petrucci of Dream Theater to novelize their big concept album, The Astonishing. Right now I'm even working on a new collaboration with Brandon Sanderson, who's a #1 New York Times bestseller. And it features a metal singer, as it happens, and a sort of a music magic in it. So there's these two things have always been at the center of my creative work. Musically, I also had the opportunity to do some international touring, fronting different bands, singing at big festivals. What a thrill that is. Singing for fans who know your music and love the music. It's a rush, unlike pretty much anything that I can compare it to. And then, of course, across the years, Christmas for me just continued to become so important. It's everything. I'm as enamored of the Rankin and Bass and stop motion animation as I am new takes on Christmas, like The Man Who Invented Christmas with the retelling of Charles Dickens. I have an extensive video library of that stuff. So it all kind of has continued to be a part of who I am, not just tangentially, but really sort of importantly and at the center of the things I do. And so it got to a point where I knew I needed to sort of realign against this idea that I had in high school and to build towards this vision. The good news was that I had at Microsoft, where my career took me working in entertainment and gaming, I'd brushed shoulders with some icons in music and entertainment world, and specifically Christmas music. And I took the opportunity to share with them this vision I had. I even told them some of the stories I wanted to tell. And I received so much amazing encouragement to really go chase this dream and to try and deliver on this vision that I had, that I finally did step away. So, and to be honest with you, I have a lot of Christmas stories, new original Christmas stories, because I do so much story creation that I intend to tell. But I did sort of focus it down to four. I call it my Christmas quartet. The first of those is The Bell Ringer, which is Symphony North's debut effort, 24 songs. And a little bit about the process there is I start always with the narrative. I do the story work so that there's a spine against which I ultimately compose. And I then thoughtfully consider what canon, songs in the Christmas canon that I want to use, and where I need to do original songwriting in order to bring the story to life in the right way. Because the intent for me and for all of us is to inspire as well as entertain. So we want you to be thrilled, and there's a lot of really rockin' tunes, but we also are hoping that there'll be some inspiration, some edification. That's an important part of the equation for me. So Bell Ringer is the first effort there, and we received so much encouragement and great reviews and so much fans who are just loving what they're hearing and sharing it, that we couldn't be more grateful for the reception that has encouraged us just to really double down and to continue. And that sort of brings me to my news, which is in this Christmas quartet, these first four albums I want to write, I've begun in earnest composition on the second. I don't have any samples or demos to share or any titles or anything of that nature. But I can tell you that these first songs that I've begun, because the way that I do it is I don't have the facility of a John Petrucci with guitar. What I am able to do is to do all of the composition in my mind. I can hear and see the parts, the orchestration, the instrumentation, and I have laid it, as I mentioned, I've laid out the narrative of these in advance, so I have a sense of the moods and the crescendos and changes as they relate to the story. So then I just sit in front of my DAW, and it takes me some time. I use Pro Tools. It takes me some time to sort of really put these down. But that's the process I've begun. And I'm so excited by the first songs that I've begun in the second album. I think fans are going to love it. It's very inspiring for me when I'm able to sit there and start to bring these stories to life. And that's what I've started. I don't have a timetable, but we'll be sharing updates. We've got some other news and announcements in the weeks and months ahead. But that's the one that we've been asked about a lot. So I thought I'd take a minute to just share where we're at with all of that. I want to let you know that the music matters and the stories matter. And at least our investiture of who we are and how we bring them to life. And in service of that idea, we've started hashtagging some of our social media stuff with #BeABellRinger. And all that's about, we're not affiliated with any particular organization. What it's about is, reaching out to lift the hands that hang down, as is sometimes said. It's my belief that every one of us has something unique to offer, a unique story, unique experiences, sometimes difficult, challenging, tragic, that uniquely qualify you to be the one to help somebody in a way that I can't or anybody else can't. And so to the degree that you can invest time, because I think money is the least important way you can share and give, invest time to just listen to somebody, to share an encouraging word. Those kinds of things matter. And while we're doing our best to thrill you with great rockin' tunes, we are also hoping that the songs, touch your heart. And in this season, being a bell ringer, or be a bell ringer, as I say, just means sharing that story. And so if someone has moved you in your life and helped you, share that and tag it. And you don't have to tag Symphony North. I mean, we'd love that, but that's not the point of this. It's not about us. this idea is bigger than any group, than any organization. And all of the power of that rests with each of us to be a bell ringer in someone's life, be somebody who's willing to take a moment. That's critical, more critical now than ever. At least that's how I feel. And so at this festive season of the year, we encourage you to share the unique story that is yours with somebody, and hashtag be a bell ringer, just as a way that we can maybe start a tidal wave of change and goodwill. So with that, a very Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you so much for the support that you've given us, the encouragement. It matters a lot. There's nothing that will dissuade me or those who are a part of Symphony North. We are full steam ahead, and there is so much more music and great stories to come that will lift and inspire and thrill along the way. So again, a very Merry Christmas and all our best to you this holiday season. Bye-bye.